This problem is all about two ratios, the debt ratio and the return on asset ratio. And you've got six companies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're they're giving you all their asset information, all their liability information, their average assets, and their net income. And you're supposed to come up with these two ratios, the debt ratio and the return on asset ratio for each one of these companies. So let's do that. Our first company, number one, the debt ratio is liabilities divided by assets. So it's going to be 56,000 divided by 147, and the debt ratio is 0.38. The return on asset ratio will be net income, which in this case is 21,000, divided by average assets, which are 200,000, and this gives us a return on asset ratio of 0.105. And we'll do that for each of these companies. So there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and there's 6. Now, we've got all these ratio pieces of information. We got all the all the return on asset answers, and we've just finished step 1 of the problem. Let's go on to step 2 of the problem. In step 2, here's what they want to know. They want to know, of the 6 companies, which business relies most heavily on creditor financing? Well, that's going to be something connected with the debt ratio. And it looks like that the one with the highest amount of debt, that is liabilities to assets, looks like it's going to be company number 6. Let's see, number 6. And that's because this company, most of their assets, which is $32,500, most of them were financed with debt, which is something the banks don't like to see that much. It's good for the owner, but it's not, because he doesn't have much risk involved. But the banks don't like to see that because they would be leery to make another loan, because most of the things, the assets, are something that they own anyway. At least they've got covered with these liabilities here. So that's the first question. Next, of the 6 companies, which business relies most heavily on equity financing? Well, that would be the one where they've put up most of the money as opposed to the bank. So it looks like the lowest debt ratio would be number 3, which looks like 13%. So company 3 gets that title of having the lowest debt ratio, or the highest equity ratio. Question number 3, which 2 companies indicate the greatest risk? Well, the greatest risk is going to be the company that has the highest debt ratio and the lowest return on assets. And it looks like company 5, which is, they've got a pretty high debt ratio there of 73%, and they've got a lower return on asset ratio of 9.5%. So that looks like 5 is a candidate, and so is number 6. Company number 6 has 82% of their assets financed with debt, and they've only got, looks like a little more than 1% return on assets. So both these companies are really risky in terms of the bank, for what the bank's concerned with. And which 2 companies earn the highest return on assets? Well, looks like the highest 2 would be company 3, which is 20%, and company 4, which is 18.8%. So 3 and 4. And let's see, we got anything else? We got one more question here. Which one company would investors likely prefer based on the risk to return relationship? Well, investors, like anybody else, they want the highest return at the lowest risk. So it looks to me like that company 3 has the highest return of 20%, and they've got, looks like, the lowest risk. So I'd say company 3. So I think we're done with this problem.